Maria del Carmen Santiago is wishing you a blessed December.
Trump's $50 billion rural health fund rolls out, but with major strings attached that could change everything. Hey everyone, big news dropped today on rural health care in America. The Trump administration just announced the first payouts from that massive $50 billion rural health transformation program, kicking off with about $10 billion heading to states in 2026. Every state applied, and they're getting chunks ranging from around $147 million up to $281 million each, averaging about $200 million. Officials are calling it a historic boost to fix struggling rural hospitals and clinics that have been closing left and right. This fund came out of the big spending and tax cut bill passed earlier this year, and it's supposed to help transform how health care works in rural areas, things like better access, telehealth, preventing chronic diseases, and keeping facilities open without building expensive new ones. CMS Administrator Mehmet Oz said it's about right-sizing the system and tackling root problems that have made rural health worse for decades. They want innovation, not just paying old bills, and states get to propose how they spend it, with federal help assigned to guide them. But here's the catch that's got people talking: not all the money is handed out the same way, and there are real conditions tied to bigger shares. Half the fund gets split equally among states, no questions asked. The other half, it's discretionary based on a formula from CMS. Part of that looks at rural population size, how bad health outcomes are, and the shape of local facilities. But a chunk reports say around $12 billion over 5 years goes extra to states that line up with the administration's Make America Healthy Again priorities. What does that mean in practice? States score more points and thus more cash if they commit to specific policies. Examples rolling out include mandating nutrition education for doctors and health workers, bringing back the presidential fitness test in schools, or restricting SNAP benefits, that's food stamps, from buying junk food like soda and candy. Some states even rush to pass laws on expanding what nurse practitioners can do or tackling obesity, just to qualify for higher amounts before deadlines hit. If states promise these changes but don't deliver, the feds can claw back money or cut future payments. No appeals, no lawsuits allowed under the program rules. Critics are calling it unusual pressure, almost like incentivizing states to adopt certain agendas to get full funding. Some Democratic-led states reportedly skipped those SNAP restrictions, knowing it might cost them millions. Meanwhile, places like Alaska got a huge payout, second only to Texas, after key support for the overall bill. On the flip side, this comes right after major Medicaid cuts in that same megabill, slashing federal spending by nearly $1 trillion over 10 years. Experts estimate rural areas could lose $137 billion in Medicaid funds, hitting hospitals hard since so many patients there rely on it, about 20% of adults and 40% of kids in rural spots. Hundreds of rural facilities were already at risk of closing or cutting services. Officials say the $50 billion more than offsets that, calling it a 50% increase in rural Medicaid investments. But others argue it falls short, especially with limits like capping direct aid to hospitals and clinics at just 15% in some guidelines. Rural advocates are mixed. Some praise the flexibility and focus on long-term fixes over band-aids. Others worry the tight timelines and policy ties push states into quick changes that might not fit everyone, or favor certain approaches over proven ones like just stabilizing funding. With low patient volumes plaguing rural spots forever, the goal is sustainability, but will the conditions help or complicate things more? Bottom line, this is a huge pot of money aimed at saving rural health care, but it's not free-flowing. States have to play by new rules for the max benefits, and failure means losing out. Rural Americans need better care close to home. No doubt closures have left people driving hours for basics. Whether this fund truly transforms things or just shifts priorities remains to be seen as the money starts flowing next year. Trump flips on affordability hoax now midterms all about pricing. Jaw-dropping shift exposed. Hey folks, buckle up because the political landscape just got another twist from the White House. President Donald Trump, who's been in office for his second term since early 2025, recently made headlines with a surprising pivot on economic issues. Back in December 2025, Trump told Politico in an interview that the upcoming 2026 midterm elections are going to revolve around pricing. He said, "It'll be about pricing," emphasizing how costs affect everyday Americans. This comes as Republicans gear up to defend their majorities in Congress, with all House seats and a third of the Senate up for grabs next November. But here's the head-scratcher. Just weeks earlier, Trump was dismissing the whole idea of an affordability crisis as nothing more than a Democrat hoax. During a rally in mid-December, he called it a Democratic scam and a con job, arguing that Democrats invented the term to stir up trouble. He repeated similar sentiments on Truth Social, posting that affordability was a fake issue, pushed by the opposition to undermine his economic wins. Fast forward to now, and he's centering his midterm strategy on essentially the same concept, just rebranded as pricing. Critics are pointing out the irony, noting that pricing and affordability boil down to the same thing: how much stuff costs and whether people can pay for it without breaking the bank. Let's break down the context. The U.S. economy under Trump's second term has seen mixed results. Inflation has cooled from the highs of 2022 to 2023, but prices for basics like groceries, gas, and housing remain elevated compared to pre-pandemic levels. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, consumer prices rose about 2.5% in 2025, down from previous years, but cumulative increases since 2021 mean a typical family's weekly grocery bill is still up around 25%. Housing affordability hit record lows, with median home prices topping $400,000 nationwide and rents averaging over $1,700 a month in many cities. Energy costs fluctuated too, with gas averaging $3.50 per gallon amid global tensions. Trump's administration has touted achievements like record stock market highs, low unemployment at around 4%, and energy independence through expanded drilling. They've also pushed tariffs on imports, which Trump says protect American jobs, but economists warn could drive up consumer prices further. A report from the Peterson Institute for International Economics estimates that Trump's proposed tariffs could add $2,600 annually to the average household's expenses. Despite this, Trump insists his policies are bringing down costs, pointing to deals with foreign leaders and domestic production boosts. On the affordability front, data paints a stark picture that contradicts the hoax label. NPR reported in December 2025 that over 40% of Americans struggle to afford housing, with rent burdens exceeding 30% of income for millions. Food insecurity affects about 13% of households, per USDA stats, and healthcare costs continue to climb despite efforts to cap insulin prices. Polls from Gallup and Pew show that economic concerns top voter priorities for 2026, with 60% of respondents citing high prices as their biggest worry. Democrats have seized on this, running ads highlighting Trump's past dismissals while promising relief through expanded subsidies and wage hikes. Trump's shift to pricing as a midterm theme seems strategic. In his Politico chat, he expressed confidence that Republicans would hold Congress by focusing on how his policies tackle costs head-on. He mentioned initiatives like the Make America Healthy Again agenda, which ties into broader economic reforms, and urged GOP senators to ditch the filibuster to pass more legislation quickly. The Guardian noted Trump's comments on December 27, 2025, where he tied pricing to overall prosperity, saying Americans would see improvements soon. Experts are weighing in on this flip-flop. Political analysts at the Brookings Institution suggest it's a response to internal polling showing vulnerability on economic issues. Trump's rebranding affordability as pricing is an attempt to own the narrative, one strategist told Yahoo News. Meanwhile, the Washington Examiner reported that Trump previously branded affordability a dead issue, but now sees it as key to motivating his base. Supporters argue it's not a contradiction. Trump has always focused on lowering costs through America First policies and pricing. Better captures his approach without the Democratic spin. As midterms approach, this could shape campaigns nationwide. Republicans in battleground states like Pennsylvania and Arizona are already echoing Trump's pricing focus in ads, blaming global factors for high costs while promising tax cuts. Democrats, on the other hand, are using Trump's own words against him, with montages of his hoax comments juxtaposed against rising bills. Voter turnout could hinge on how these messages land, especially among independents who swung the 2024 election. The bottom line: economic realities aren't going away, hoax or not. With inflation data due in January 2026 and potential Fed rate cuts on the horizon, pricing or affordability will likely dominate debates. Americans are watching closely to see if promises translate to relief at the checkout counter. This evolving stance from the president highlights how fluid politics can be, especially when elections loom. Follow so we can stay connected. Your support matters more than you know, and I appreciate every moment you give to listen. Your support is important to me, and it helps me a lot. It keeps me active, bringing you important information. Feel free to like, support, and subscribe. Crowning Thoughts True Speaker Copyright 2025 by Santiago D.C. Maria, licensed under Creative Commons Attribution. I love you all and stay blessed. Thank you for listening. Love always. Santiago D.C. Maria.
Thank you for listening to Santiago.